Oh, let's see if somebody shows up tonight. Oh, there's a few folks. Let's see if it'll tell me who's in the chat. Oh, so far just me. I guess folks have to type in before it recognizes them. Let's see here. Tell me if participants. It says me. So, who do we have with us tonight? Since I'm completely in the dark about who's with us. I finished my can of Coke after a long day. Wherever you were, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. You gave me a minute or two of your time. I was watching Think Like a Cop and realized it was time to start this. Now nobody's here. I could have finished watching Think Like a Cop and still been on time for my own funeral. Oh, excuse me. Don't know who I'm saying it to because there's no one there watching, but I'm from the South. We have manners. If anybody can understand that, I'm going to the bathroom. Oh, still nobody here. Flag time. Pretty cool. Shelf on the side and it's playing the same video. About a 4-second lag time. 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002. 2-second lag time. So I guess I'm not live. I'm semi-live. I guess everybody else must be at other live streams. But I'll give it a few more minutes. Hey, we got another visitor. Who do we have here tonight? A couple more. Got a few folks. Hey, Broussard, how you doing? Hope you've had a good day today. Christy, good to see you again. Glad you guys stopped by. Yeah, we had to make some changes on the farm today. For the last 4 or 5 days, my old pig out there, she's been acting kind of strange. I'm at work at the firehouse. Yeah. In other words, you're bored off your butt and there ain't no fires to go be putting out. And hopefully you don't have to go put a fire out. I'd rather see you get paid not to do anything and just do odds and ends around the firehouse than I would to see you have to go out in the burning building. But had to butcher my pig. The last few days she's been acting kind of weird. She learned how to swim around the fence that I had out in the pond. And she went across the county line once, about 1.5 miles down the road, and I had to lower her back with a sack of feed. I got her put back in. Thought maybe the electric fence had grounded itself out. Shocked the pee out of my arm working on it because idiot me didn't unplug it. And then the next day she decides to go down to the neighbor's house and tear up his garden, which basically was my garden because I gave them most of the seed they planted and they used my equipment to till the ground up with. So she basically tore up my garden down the road and chased after his wife. And he came down here and she followed him and he told me, and I walked in the house and grabbed a pistol. I was fixing to shoot her right then. I didn't care. I'm not going to put up with an animal that acts like that. Ain't happening. And I was going to try and breed her, but I got her for free. And my first intentions was just, she came from a chicken house. She ate rotten eggs and stuff like that. And I knew the meat would taste bad. So my first intentions was just to feed her out. She was about 400, 425 pounds at the time. So I put her on a diet. Root up some grass and eat the corn I give you. And I got her down to about 350. It took us from 8 o'clock in the morning. We finally finished at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Me and another fella. I've got 170 pounds of meat in my freezer, and I sent him home with the other half of the hog. Here's this more pig than I wanted. I don't want to see. And the worst part about it is I've got leftover barbecued pork chops and rice with gravy for supper tonight in the oven warming up. And I don't even want it. I've had so much pork to deal with today. But she had to go. I'm not going to put up with an animal that I can't keep caged walking up and down the road to cause an accident that I'd be responsible for, let alone one that's going to chase after people. And this pig Took 3 rounds to the head, right between the eyes with my 380, right beside the eye with my 380. And then finally, as she's starting to wobble after she's run about 200 yards, my buddy hits her with his 22 Magnum, and she rolls over down in the ditch. And I'm like, you didn't need that last shot. Both of those shots were kill shots. She just got scared and ran. And then whenever I tell the guy that's blocking her path, don't jump, just block her path, stand still. She won't go by you and she'll fall over. No, he's got to start jumping up and down, hollering at her to stop. Whoa, 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 waving his arms, and she took off some more. You know, because I've seen pigs go sometimes 20, 30 minutes before they finally expire, and 3 shots to the head, she had a will to live. Heritage Farms from Texas. I think Broussard has their email on their About page. Check their About page, and you should find it down below their description. Well, after you find out that this animal has caused a lady to hurt her knees trying to get away, and she's chased her, it's not hard to do. You know, I don't get off on butchering animals. I do it because that's how I get my meat and that's how I live. And it's always a serious and solemn event. But to tell you the truth, I was glad to see her go today because I kept her at the house yesterday, going out and throwing out a little treat here and there from the refrigerator just to keep her interested where she wouldn't wander off again. But an animal that might be dangerous, I do not have a problem putting down in a heartbeat. A wild dog or a coyote, I'll ruin a deer hunt if I see a coyote. I don't care if there's a 10-point buck and 10 yards away there's a coyote, I'm going to shoot the coyote. I don't care. They're dangerous animals, and I will not have a dangerous animal around, especially if it's one I own. If I own an animal and it's dangerous or shows signs of becoming aggressive toward people, I do not hesitate because I was about to shoot that pig right there in front of him whenever he told me he chased his wife. And he said, no, 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 don't do that, don't do that, or at least not while I'm here. And I said, man, I'm fixing to put a bullet in her head and I'll roll her off in that pond and let the turtles eat her. But luckily, there was somebody that was available today to help me get this hog up, hang her, and we skinned her out. We didn't bother to scald her or scrape the hair. And it took 2.5 hours just to get the hide off of her. It was on there so tight. It's not like cleaning a deer or a rabbit or something where you can just get a hand and just pull. No, this all had to be cut. And we were all, both me and the other guy, we like Rada cutlery. And it's some of the best American made knives you can get because they hold an edge and they're thin blades, so you can get them pretty well razor sharp fast. And we were constantly sharpening our blades. But we finally got her skinned out, got her opened up and all the stuff out, you know, and then got the head off, and then we went redneck, pulled out the saws off and went down the backbone, got the shoulders off. That each of the hams weighed at least 50 pounds a piece. But I'm not going to be doing pigs anymore until I get a good enclosure for pigs. And I wasn't really set up to have this, but it was a free pig. So naturally, I'm going to take it. And I wanted to butcher it out in February whenever it was nice and cool, and I could have let it hang outside for a few days, and it would have been easier to finish dressing and pulling the hide off and age it a little bit, make it a little more tender. But a fella said, hey, I can get a boar to come over and we'll breed her, and then you keep half the piglets and I'll keep half the piglets, after they're weaned, and then we'll butcher both of the parents. I'm like, okay, we'll try that. Well, now it's the end of March, and that was the first February. 2 months you ain't brought a boar over, and she's already done this. Nope, can't keep her. So that entailed my day. And the goats were looking at her like, now we always stand up the other way to get up into the tree to eat the leaves. Why are you standing on your head to do it? Because they were all just looking, and they come up. The fella helping me, he had spilled some raisins in the floor of his truck as he was snacking on his way, because he lives in Savannah, Georgia, which is 2 hours from me. And he was snacking on some raisins, and some of them fell on the floor of his truck. And one of my goats is over there climbing up in his truck, eating raisins. But tomorrow I'll get their fence put back up the way I like to have it. That way they don't get out anymore. And hopefully that'll have another problem solved, because my mom's been hearing about how they're always on the side of the road. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not like the pig. They don't walk down the road. They stand at the side of the road, and they hear a car, they move away. I don't worry about them. That pig I worried about, because I live on a curve on one side and a blind hill on the other side, and somebody coming down the road, and they speed around here. Somebody coming 65, 70 miles an hour, hit a 400-pound hog, it's going to do some damage, and Morgan can't afford that. So she had to go. When I lived over beside my mom and, well, down the road from my mom and dad, my my second ex was with me, and some neighbors on the other side of the block had some pigs, and one of them got loose, and he was just the perfect size to eat. He was about 100 pounds. And if she'd called me at work and told me that that pig was there, I'd have told her just shut the gate, wait till I get home, and if nobody comes looking for her, we'll eat it. But she didn't do that. She panicked and she called my dad, and my dad came down there with a slingshot. He ran the pig out the yard with a slingshot. And I've laughed at that for years. He ran that old pig out the yard with a slingshot. But now I've got a lot of meat. Well, it'll be frozen in by tomorrow afternoon, and then I can get my meat saw out, and I can start cutting it all up, because it's easier to cut frozen than it is fresh whenever it comes to cutting through bone and meat at the same time. Because I'm not going to bother sitting there and going through that thing bone by bone and then slice out the meat. No, I'm not going to bother with all that. That takes up too much time. But I've still got to get the yeah, David and Goliath. Because my dad used to be a pretty big old fella, but he's a lot he's smaller than I am now, and I only weigh 150 pounds. But then again, my dad's also 86. He might weigh 115 pounds now, but I still wouldn't want to tangle with him. That man would kick your ass. He's got a set of brass knuckles that he took from somebody that was hitting him in the head with them. He whipped that guy's ass, took his brass knuckles from him, and then punched him one time square in the forehead and left the imprint of them brass knuckles right across there. And he's had them brass knuckles ever since. I bet he's had them for 65, 70 years. Because he was a young fellow whenever he took them, because brass knuckles were illegal in Georgia. So it had to been way back when you could go buy them somewhere. But now I just got to get it all broke down into smaller parts and get my bacon, get it curing, so I'll have some good bacon. leave a couple of them big pieces that way. Come 4th of July, I'll be able to have a little cookout and have 7 or 8 folks that I can actually be comfortable around come over and we all just have a good time eating and maybe have a beer or two, do some fishing and put that thing on the smoker and let it go all day. Well, howdy from Georgia there. Always hello from Long Island. You should have come down today. You could have helped butcher the hog. Good how-to video. It wasn't near as professional as what Justin Rhodes had going on, but tell you what, we got her in the freezer. I don't know. I haven't been in over a week now. Last week I had the oral surgery and I missed a couple days and I said, well, there ain't but one more day in the week and the weather got cold and I was still on antibiotics and I said, no, I ain't going. Just replace me. So they put me down for 2 days this week, tomorrow and Saturday. So there's that. But hopefully it'll start picking up and I'll be able to get something done. Or at least maybe they'll give me some more hours because it's getting to the point that I'm about to have to see if I can get a hardship withdrawal from school so I can actually catch up on my bills. And if they don't want to do that, I'm just going to say, look, I've got to have this oral surgery finished because the doctor screwed it up, and it's got to be within the next month because it's all in the process, and I'm gonna miss a week of school then, and that's gonna be right at finals time, and I can't do that, and I can't with the hours of God, I can't afford an extra $30 a week, which now might as well say $40 a week because in the last day gas jumped up 10 cents a gallon here. We're at $2.50 a gallon in Georgia, where I am. I'm sure where most of you guys are, it's probably more expensive. Well, after about the first 4 days, then I got the rest because it took. I sleep on my stomach. Hang on a second. Let me see who's at my door. Hey, man.
Let you know I'll come get my man.
All right, man.
My mama's doing better.
Good.
Well, got your mom. Got a meat for it. Got a dog. And they put her down. Take the dog to the hospital. One for you. Yeah, one for you.
Yeah, I was gonna call you after I got through the hospital.
I don't want to you gotta be off this back. I'm telling you.
Well, folks are not on the door normally don't see that.
Well, I'll be a nice doctor. Usually have a fork line. See, I come think about the fuck. You gotta get the kid on to go by the kid. If you focus up the wing, put the blanket down for the focus cleaning, focus up the wing right there, so that's what we do.
Yeah, this part back here, he's got it tamed up for you.
Like, put them still out here or what? Or you put them all in the truck.
All in the van and all your stuff back there, I think the work's on the ground. Everything.
We'll do that tomorrow. Like, my man, like, you ain't put wire. Wire.
Yeah, I did it on. You just back out the door.
I want to make sure I'm right. I want to find out for I'll get forward with you.
I just got to go to put back up tomorrow. We'll probably stay in
I'm worried about it.
now. I'm not worried about it. We're gonna go take a little while. You told us they could have been doing it. Oh, you get to come over and then. Yeah, he left down here. I knew it was down there, and I knew it was down here. There wasn't anybody gonna get it. I'm out down here.
Yeah, Carmen's grandmother was dead. That's what's going on.
I'm not looking at the
I didn't want to leave y'all. I know that.
That's all right. We finished up in another hour or so.
He called me and told me I got a kid. He said he's gonna be up.
Yeah, he went down there.
I talked to him about 45 minutes ago, 45 minutes to an hour ago. And he told me he was at home. He said, I'm feeling sleep. He fell out and he was going to get I said, I'm gonna go on over the board and get to the house. Get there, let him know I got it. So that way he won't think somebody's doing something like that.
Oh, I heard it crank up. I've been out the back door shot.
The phone shop was ain't with
No, I was shot. We went to the driver's sitting at. He looked like he looked like somebody I didn't know because we got shot.
I'd rather not look like go with my car in the yard. I've got,
Well, that's the way it ought to be.
I was walking the dead dog. That's why I probably
Exactly.
But if you heard me shooting, you probably not going to start shooting back at me, and I was going to shoot.
I've been making sure my target. I don't just squeeze them off.
So I walked outside the road. We were in. We were gone. I don't know. Yeah, we did. We went first. $15 gas. But we went first. All my neck was so graffiti because he had been home all day. He went and knocked brick, slammed down to get the TV. And then so when the plane got hit, he was right there and bounced off the TV. And then Wayne Rose hit brick and he saw brick and he was falling. He didn't know what falling died. I mean, I blew it. Now I know what I was going to do. Y'all getting off there again?
Yep. It's all quartered up.
They said he could bought 6 more bags on top of that.
Yeah, I got mine in the freezer. I had to give you away from my phone, so now we've got me a room that. Oh,
No, I didn't want you to think somebody tried to steal.
yeah.
I think a lot of my phone goes, start shooting them over there, back. I already had, you think I put the book back, but I ain't want to do it.
Yeah,
I just didn't want you to think I was trying to.
but I'm gonna let you get them back on the first time.
Find me my number, did you?
That's good.
That you can plug them out. 99 dollars, blood pressure and stuff, everything stuff. That's all you.
That's good.
RSC is what we're doing. But Dr. Pell, which was our doctor, said, your mom's back. He said, you know, got somebody tell you doctor to do.
Exactly.
And her primary doctor didn't even know what was going on. It got so bad they would fix to put a ventilator in her. She had that CPAP on with the ventilator in the CPAP. That's what they had on it. I mean, man, just look at it like. I talked to her son on Roy on the phone. He said, I was going to go back up there. I told my wife, she was going after B, we called him and told him he was doing better. He didn't come up with a gun. That's the way he is. He loves his mom. I told him he got mom. He's on the board.
That's good. I'm glad things are better for them.
I called Aunt Danny. I couldn't get never get hold of him. I got hold of Danny, Herman, Bub and all them. Then we got a call while I was setting up there from the black people wanting us to go clean his place over on the other side of Adel clean the place. And we got a call from the guy that's gonna do our interview, live interview. He wants to shoot one at 11 o'clock. He wants to send me 5 pictures, 5 songs. We want to our TV. We got to get all that done. We're ready to shoot at 11 o'clock. Well, if you hear me coming out, hope you get me.
All
I'm
right,
not shoot back.
all right. I'll leave the light on till you get down the road. I don't have a light back there, but you might be able to see out the window.
Sorry about that, guys. Hey, Beast family, glad you could join me. Yeah, the folks from down the road with the little church that I try to help out as much as I can. Tell them I'm on a live stream, and even got somebody on Messenger. I wonder who that is. I don't know that picture. Oh, who is it? Oh, it's just one of my friends with something funny. I'll look at it later. But he don't know how to shut up. He always talking. He was helping butcher the hog earlier today, and he he can handle the skinning. He can handle the cutting up the meat. He just can't handle the taking out the internals. He got in a wreck one time and had like half his face torn off, and you can't tell it. There's no scars. You think there would be, something where, but there's none. So I'm wondering, just exactly how bad was the accident that ripped half your face off and you don't have a tremendous scar, which I got one right here, and I got one right here from being hit with the buttstock of a rifle. So 2 and 2 don't always make 4, apparently, or I might be wrong. But I feel like I might be not told everything. But he was wanting to know about the hog since he was helping out. And, well, I hated to leave you with it. I'm like, well, heck, you weren't doing nothing anyway. You were just standing there watching, so no problem. Everything turned out fine. We got it cut up. He had somebody come help me, and oh, here he's coming to the door again. I'll be right back.
Morgan,
Yeah.
don't worry about that. That was behind the van. I didn't know it. But there's another one around that broke. That ain't broke.
Well, this one was mine, the other one was hers, but no big deal.
I'm sorry. I'll pay for another one. Again.
I have a problem with that.
I didn't mean to break it. The hole digger, that shovel, and that one. And that's one broke.
Well, those wasn't whole diggers, that's what this is.
This
This
hole
right here.
digger is all right. They're up by the tree now. And that other shovel, he be good.
Oh, this one ain't the last one, no. Carpenter beat got
Yeah,
it.
I'm just telling you, I didn't mean to break it. I'm not gonna just run off and leave it, like that on me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm probably gonna wind up with a anyway.
Well, I just wanted you to know that I didn't mean for it to be broken.
It ain't no problem. They got handles down there.
At least I was man enough to come there.
Oh, yeah.
Just throw it on the side, you leave.
They got handles down there more than I can do handle on it.
Sure. And how much is I got you money back.
They're like things like $10 for it all.
I got
Unless the new shovel about the same price, or new shovel might be cheaper. We'll see. We'll work it out. Ain't no big deal.
Shovel handle. I shouldn't be able to hold him in 2 hands. He ran over my shovel. But I guess it ain't a bad thing because that little dot right there, apparently a carpenter bee decided to make their home in my shovel handle and I hadn't noticed it. So this shovel wasn't long for the world anyway. Now, Beach, how could you get in trouble with the moderators? Hey, VD, I didn't even see you pop in. It has been a heck of a day. But I don't see anything. I haven't watched any videos all day today or yesterday. And you got a good one coming tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing it because I really enjoyed the one with your daughter teaching her the metalworking. I really did enjoy that because you weren't one of those parents that took control and did it for them or whatever. You let her do it and you just helped out and guided. You did it. You did the right way. You know, you didn't discourage her like some parents tend to do. I did enjoy that one, and I will be checking out the one you got coming out tomorrow. But no, if any of you guys got a video that you, if I haven't seen it or whatever, or if you posted one in the last day or two, because I don't always get a chance to watch videos every day, by all means, if you're on my live stream and you want to say, hey, I got a new video coming out, go ahead. Let it be known. You're not offending me at all because if I'm subbed to you, I'm going to check it out. And if I'm not subbed to you and you're here, it might be the video that persuades me to actually sub you. I don't have any shit. If you're talking about the one that says, hey, Morgan, you had a chance to watch any of my latest vids, got a good one coming tomorrow, it's not shadowed on my screen. But I don't mind if anybody promotes a video that they had that they've come out with or one that they've got coming up. I don't mind at all because that's exactly what this is for. It's for everybody to have talk and have a good time and say what's going on. Like I was telling a story about having to butcher the pig that went crazy over the last 4 or 5 days, and she went to freezer camp. The judge sentenced her to freezer camp, and I tell you what, took 3 rounds to the head. I got her right here, right above the eyes with a 380. Then I got her right here with a 380. And then the dummy that was just at the door, I told him, I said, she started to run. But I told him, I said, just drive your van down in front of her, park on the side of the road where she can't get by you, and just wait right there. She'll stop because she's hurt, she's injured, she's going to die in just a couple minutes anyway. But he has to start hollering at her, jumping up and down, waving his arms, and that just made her run more. So she runs across the road and another 30 yards down, and the other fella helping me out, he rides down with his 22 Magnum and puts one on the side of her head because she's already starting to wobble. All he really did was just knock her over in the ditch. And the ditch was like 5 foot deep, so we had to pull her out of that with a chain and get her back up to the house, hang her up, skin her out, cut her up. But yeah, that pig did not want to go. She had some fight left in her. But I've seen them take up to 20, 30 minutes to finally give up. You know, when I put the bullet above and between the eyes where it's supposed to go, and it went straight through her head. I saw it hit the dirt after it went through, but it just sometimes they don't die instant. That's why a lot of these guys who hog hunt, they like to use AR-15s because that way they can just pop off 4 or 5 rounds all at once, and then they don't have to chase them as far. But at the same time, they don't normally eat them neither because a wild hog is not all that good to eat. If I'm going to eat a wild hog, I might eat a gilt or a sow, but I'm definitely not eating a boar. But a wild hog don't taste much good. But that's how my day went. Started at 8:30 this morning, and got through around 3 this afternoon. See, if it'd been a deer, I'd have been done in half an hour. But that hog, I tell you what, that skin was on there so tight, and we were sharpening our knives about every 5 or 10 minutes. Back over to the knife sharpener, get it where it cut paper again, and then go back to town. And then use the sawzall to cut her in half. Yeah, it's a good community, but it's really hard to break in with the bigger ones. So us smaller ones have to band together so that way we can grow and get to where we're noticed more by the bigger guys. Because like Jess at Roots and Refuge, until her mother-in-law passed away, she was at like 40,000. I had just subbed her. Her mother-in-law passed away. Then she's off YouTube for about 2 months. And whenever she comes back, boom, she hit 65,000 like there wasn't no tomorrow. I mean, it was just a matter of a month. She hit 65,000, and I think now she's broke the 100,000 mark. I'm not sure. Yeah, boars are nasty unless you've got the time and the guts to actually catch one, live trap it, and take care of the family jewels and feed it out on corn. Leave that boar where it lays after you shoot it in the woods. Because personally, they don't belong in the woods. No how they're just domestic hogs that went wild, and people let go or couldn't keep up with it, something like that. Accidents always happen. We've got them running wild in the creek right where I live, and I'm surprised I haven't had one come up here trying to get in the pen to breed the old sow I had. But none of them ever did. So if they had, I'd have just shot them and rolled them out in the pond and let the turtles eat them. But yeah, that's what this is all about, just building community. I don't know what it's more sad for. It's sad for the fact that there's an animal that goes to waste because the meat's not worth eating, or the fact that some people actually let hogs loose to have something to go hunt and shoot, which in itself I think is wrong. And the fact that they destroy so much land. I mean, you go to a cow pasture if you want fish bait, and you go to the feedlot, and all you got to do is scratch around. You'll find all the earthworms you want. You go to where they feed out pigs and scratch around, you won't find the first earthworm at all. None. Because a pig eats anything. Yeah, I saw the thumbnail. I didn't get a chance to click on it. Biloxi. I have been waiting for Netflix to put Biloxi Blues up because I've been wanting to see that again for so long. I love that movie. Which the other night I watched the movie about the story of Motley Crue. That was pretty cool. I didn't know they did their last concert in 15, and they'd been playing since 81. I mean, that's what 34-year stretch they played together. That's pretty good stretch. I mean, it ain't no Rolling Stones, but that's pretty good stretch. I'm back in your back. Yep, we're both back after Talkie McTalkie finally got in his van to leave. He runs over my shovel and had to come to the door to tell me he run over my shovel. It wasn't nothing but a $10 shovel. I wasn't really worried about that. He said he'd get me another one, so all right, I'll let you get me another one because I found the carpenter bee hole in that one whenever he handed me the handle. Oh, my hog just was started acting strange the last 4 or 5 days, and then she learned how to swim around the fence that I have in the pond, and she went a mile and a half into the next county, which the county line ain't but a mile away from me. She went down there, and those folks knew where she belonged, so they came and told me, and I went down there and I got her back. Then the next day she went in the other direction to the Talkie McTalkie's house that lives about 800-900 yards up the road from me, and she's out there eating up his garden, tearing up his garden, which is basically my garden by extension. My garden down the road, it was my equipment and my seed he used to plant it. And chased his wife, and she ain't never been aggressive toward people. And I was fixing to put a bullet in her head right then, and he said, "No, don't shoot her while I'm here. I don't want you to hurt the hog over there. I mean, it's all right." I'm like, "No, I'm not having an aggressive animal." So that afternoon, I'd put 2 rounds of birdshot in her for trying to go that way. He put 5 rounds of birdshot in her for going down to his place. And yesterday she stayed at home. I reckon she figured out leaving the yard caused her butt to hurt. And I would go to the refrigerator and grab some kind of leftover out of there, and I'd throw it out there every hour or two to keep her interested in staying around the house. Hey, I'm getting treats. I'm staying around the house because today I had a guy I know from Savannah. He had time. He came down and helped me butcher her out. But she took 3 rounds to the head before she finally went down. She didn't want to give up. She had fight in her. But I gave both of those guys, Talkie McTalk and the guy that actually really helped out, I gave them half of it, and then I kept the other half. I don't know what happened with her. She just got in one of her moods, and it might have been she was in the spring heat cycle, and it could be different than the ones that happen periodically through the winter. But she just got hard headed. She'd never gone after people before. Poor thing, my butt. Barbecue. She didn't go to waste, I promise you. But it all worked out fine. I got a 50-pound ham in the freezer. They got a 50-pound ham. I got the short ribs and a thing of spare ribs, and I got a big old hunk of bacon and a shoulder and a picnic, and I guess they got some pork chops out of it. I thought I put one in there, but I put 2 things with pork chops that I ain't even cut up yet in the freezer. But I got about 175 pounds of meat on the bone in there, so I'm not hurting for pork. And I told my mom, she's always trying to send me home with food and stuff like that. I said, I don't want another pork chop. Don't you put a frozen pork chop in that bag of anything. Because in about another 3 weeks, it's going to be time for me to start butchering chickens. So I have plenty of that too. I guess you are a moderator if you got a ranch. I go through and give everybody a ranch if I want to. All right, check out Beach Family Homestead next time he posts. Let's see who else is on here. There's one I should have done a long time ago. Let's see who else. Christy is probably already at work or getting ready to work. What's that? There we go. I don't know if Heritage Farms is still here or not. I know they were looking for Broussard's email address earlier. Yeah, I'll be like Homestead in the hard way. Everybody gets a blue wrench. Yeah, well, I like watching Homestead in the Hard Way with Chris and his wife, because you know the new guys. Whenever they find the channel and they start watching the live stream, you know who they are because they don't have a blue wrench. Everybody else does. I didn't give you a ranch. I gave you a wrench. If I had a ranch, I'd be keeping it and farming cattle. Troll Slayer, like I've got trolls. I've only had 4 or 5 negative thumbs down, and only one guy followed me from one channel to another to fuss at me. And it's like, dude, I don't care if you followed me from that video to my channel. You just gave me a view, and you gave me watch time. You helped me out. Thanks, buddy. I ain't heard from him since. But I do have 1 or 2 channels that I will admit, I watch about 45 seconds of their video and then I hit the thumbs down because they're blithering idiots. And I will name names out in the country. They built a hay feeder. No, you built a small box without a top, you idiot. And you're worried about it being perfectly square and you're just going to put hay in it for a damned old mule and a pony. Which I don't know why you call it a pony. It ain't a pony no more. It's full grown. It's just a short horse. So that means you're a little horse's ass. It drives me up the wall to see people pretend to know what they're doing when they don't know. They don't have the slightest damn clue in the world what it takes to raise an animal. But they wanted it. They wanted the hay feeder on the ground because that's more natural for them to eat that way. You dumbass, have you figured out that the good Lord made that horse's neck go up like this too? That's so they can eat out the trees. They browse just like goats do, but they prefer grass. So it don't matter if that hay feeder's not on the ground or not. They're going to eat regardless, and it ain't going to hurt their rumen or nothing like that. You're just a bunch of damn little millennial idiots. Guess our duties are turning nuts. I don't know. It depends on who's nuts and how hard you turn them. Some of them will cry like babies, and some of them will like it. So you might want to watch out. Nobody at the door this time, but I'll be right back. It's been a couple weeks And after the day, long, hard day, I deserve a beer, so I just got one. I think it equals about 2.5 or 3, so I better pick that top back up before it gets dirty. I might need it. Might have to finish this tomorrow. Yeah, you think I'm funny now? You should have met me about 5, 6 years ago before I got in that car accident. I lost a lot of my humor, but it's slowly starting to come back. I used to be so quick-witted, it was pathetic. I had this one lady one time when I was managing a McDonald's, and they came out with the new Southern chicken sandwich. And this lady, she was an older lady, and my manager knew I was a smart ass. She called me her little, what was it? Her her little hickey manager. And this older lady said, "Would you sell me one of those new chicken sandwiches?" And and my manager heard it, and she's like, "Oh God, what's he gonna say?" And I looked this woman dead in the eye without even blinking, and I said, "Ma'am, I would never sell you a used one." No, it's only a quart. I decided to go with the white boy big bottle instead of the black boy big bottle. The black boys love the 40s. Morgan only went with the quart, 32 fluid ounces. I didn't need the other 8. I got to watch my figure. Well, I'm not much of a drinker. I'd rather smoke pot, but it's illegal in my state unless you get medical marijuana, and you can get the prescription for medical marijuana, but it's illegal to sell or possess medical marijuana in my state, even though you can get a prescription for it. But they're working on it. And the day they legalize it to where I can actually get a prescription and have my own, Morgan's through with pain pills and anxiety medicine. I'm going straight to the all natural herbal remedy. And I ain't into all the oils and stuff like that and herbal remedies. I believe in modern medicine, but I'll give up my painkillers and my anxiety medicine to smoke weed because I don't hurt when I smoke weed, and I'm not as anxious, and I don't get as nervous around folks. Because used to I was life at a party, and I didn't mind going around places, but you get me somewhere where there's more than 5 or 6 people. Morgan, he's finding a nice little quiet spot off in the corner by himself. I don't want to be bothered up with folks, especially if I don't know them very well. Now, if I got the double deuce, I'd have to get 2 of them, and that's more than the 40, and can't do the 40. If you think I'm funny tonight and I ain't even took the first sip of beer yet, you ought to see me whenever I'm smoking weed. You better have a roll of toilet paper because you probably pee a little bit. No, I got the deuce deuce. Down here, we call them double deuce, the 22 ounces. I don't know about that, Beach. Morphine don't work on me, but I tell you what, Dilaudid does. They gave that to me one time at the hospital when I had an infection in my jawbone. Woo, I tell you what, it started to work, and it was a cute little old nurse. And at the time, the woman I was with was right there in the room with me, and I looked at the nurse because I felt this stuff coming on, and I looked at her and she was on her way out the door, and I said, "Nurse, can you do me a favor?" She goes, "What's that?" Next time you guys need to check on me, would you be sure that they send the ugliest woman or either a man up in here to check on me? She looked at me kind of funny, and I said, because this stuff is starting to work, and I really don't want to offend you by slapping you on the ass or grabbing it. And she kind of giggled, and the woman that I was seeing at the time looked at her and said, "No, he's serious. He means it. You better send somebody else because you were too cute to be coming in here when he's messed up like that." 4 medicines. I've got lisinopril for blood pressure. I've got Xanax for anxiety. I've got Percocet for pain, and then I've got the major three: Tylenol, aspirin, ibuprofen, that I alternate so that I don't have to take my pain medication as directed, one every 4 hours, which I usually break them in half anyway. And I try to plan my day out to where I don't have to take but the one in the morning to get going, and one at night after the day's done and I'm through doing all the hard work I got to do. Wish today with that hog I had to take one during the middle of it. Which no, I only took half of one during the middle of it. But my motto is legalize today, get high tonight. And as soon as they legalize it to where I can get prescription marijuana, I'm talking to my doctor and I'm getting off all this other man-made stuff. And I'm going the all natural route because I can grow my own, and I promise you, I can grow. I can. It's been a long time, but I can grow my own. I've had people want me to grow for them, and it's like, no, not doing it. One or two from me, I can hide. When you start getting up more than 4 or 5 of them, you can't hide it. There's eyes everywhere. And I ain't going down for selling no weed. I ain't going down for giving it to folks. No. If I grow any, it's for me and me only. If you happen to be here and I spark one up, yeah, I'll share it with you, but you ain't going home with none of mine. Because frankly, it's just as good as medical grade, and you can't afford to pay my price for it because it takes a lot of love and attention. Just like getting that first green bean or that first cucumber off the vine or tomato, it takes all that love and attention. It's the same way, and I ain't fixing to give up all that hard effort for any of that. Well, I guess we heard you loud and clear, Beach. But I'm glad you stopped by, and I'll be getting caught up on videos tomorrow before I go to work. As a matter of fact, I'll probably be up a little bit later tonight after this live stream, and I'll catch up on a few of them then. Ooh, Bud Light. This is the high dollar stuff that I'm not used to. I'm used to Busch Light. They didn't have no quarts of that. No, I got enough rabbits in the woods. I don't need to raise them. If I wanted to eat a rabbit, I bet I could walk outside right now and in 10 minutes probably shoot 3 or 4. But a buddy of mine wants me to set up a rabbit raising operation out here, and he's going to fund it if I do the work, and then we split the profits from it. But he wants to sell them as pets, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. You sell them as pets, eventually you run out of people to sell them to. But if you sell them as meat, then you got to market, because if it's a pet, it's going to be there for 5 years. If it's food, it's going to be there for 5 days. Then they got to come back and get another rabbit. That's how you make your money at it. Well, I don't know about all that's a lot of butchering. I'm like, cuz it only takes 5 minutes to do a rabbit. They are happy not to be bothered by that old pig. But they were curious as to why she was trying to climb a tree facing downward when they always climb a tree facing upward. They came over and they looked her up and down, and they're like, Patty, what are you doing? You're facing the wrong way. Your head's supposed to be going up, not down. I looked at him and told him, I said, see, your attitude will get you in trouble. So y'all better behave. Now get over there, lay down and chew your cud. 5 minutes later, we looked over there. They done found them a sunny spot. They were all laying back, just chilling, warming up in the morning sun because it was still a little bit chilly. But one of them's udders are starting to look like they're starting to fill up. So I think I might be having at least one kid come next month, because next month is almost here, and it should be between the 1st and the 15th of the month, because they weren't here when they got bred. They were at somebody else's house, and he saw them together once, but he doesn't know if it took, and I don't really know, because heck, whenever I bought her, she didn't swell up like all these goats I see on YouTube. But she only had one, and if she's pregnant now, she's only got one, because she ain't ballooned out. And the other one that I had bred's a little bit bigger than what she normally is. So I'm hoping that this is her first kid too, if she has a kid. But we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, I've got to get on that. I just haven't had time the last few days, and it's like, man, it's been almost a week and a half, 2 weeks since I've even put a video up. I've got to get one, and then I had that hog to deal with today, and I'm like, everybody else is already doing hog videos, and I ain't even doing it the way they're doing it. Mine's going to look, it's going to show that I'm out of practice butchering. I said, I ain't even going to bother with it. So I didn't even bother taking pictures or videoing it or nothing. Now, don't you know the autocorrect is smarter than you are? My phone tells me how much smarter it is than I am all the time. Yeah, rabbit manure is really good because it's mild. You can use it pretty much straight, and it ain't gonna burn your plants. But now, if you're gonna breed rabbits and you don't want to slaughter them for meat, that's the way to go, is show rabbits. Well, I don't have enough subscribers or watch hours to be monetized anyway, so it wouldn't hurt my channel at all. But everybody else is doing it, so why show it? They just say I'm ignorant, don't know what I'm doing. It's just I'm out of practice. Because 10 years ago, I promise you, that hog would have been skinned, cut up, and in the cooler in 30 minutes. But I really been out of practice. I know a lot of those names you're saying for the rabbits. I know Satins are a meat rabbit, and I know the California Rexes. Some people use those for meat rabbits because, if I ain't mistaken, they make a pretty big old rabbit. And Angoras, they like those for meat rabbits because they can use the fur's really sought after because that is a soft and fluffy little bunny. Mine does that too. It doesn't speak Southern, and whenever I type a word in, I'm wrong. And it lets me know I'm wrong because then I look stupid whenever I push enter without making sure that I go back and correct it first because my phone knows better than I do what I'm supposed to be saying. I can't even put the word he. It always comes out her. And I use he more than I do her. Yeah, I took all they said, well, what do we need to bury? And I said, well, we need to dig a hole about 3 foot deep. We're going to bury the hide and the head because I didn't want to fool with skinning. I wanted the jowl meat, but I didn't want to fool with skinning it out because that was just taking too much time. And one of them had to leave, and it's like, screw it, just cut the head off. So we buried that, and then I took the rest of it and I put it in my witch's cauldron, put a little water in it, turned my fish cooker on, boiled it up. It goes to the chickens tomorrow for chicken feed because they got the lungs and a few other choice parts that were something they could eat raw. They got those today, and they went to town on those pieces of hog. We were talking about technology today, especially whenever it came to that sawzall going down that backbone. Because we looked at each other and said, man, I'd hate to be doing this 50 years ago where you had to use a bone saw to go all the way down it by hand. Thank God for electricity and modern technology, but not all of it is good. You know, to be honest with you, I don't really do much with the chicken poop. I take the shovel, I scoop it out the chicken house, and I use it in the garden the same day. If I'm planting, I just dig a little bit deeper. I put it down at the bottom, and then I cover an inch or two of soil on top, and then I plant over it and keep on going. It doesn't bother anything. I've never had fresh chicken manure burn anything. I've known people who've taken cuttings off of plants and stuck straight in fresh chicken manure, and they rooted. So, people can talk about how hot it is, and yeah, it is hot, but it's not like a bag of 10 fertilizer. It's only like a 1.5 nitrogen. So it's really not going to burn anything. Yeah, I grew up the same way. We didn't have cows, but the neighbors had pigs. Yeah, I've got mine set up to where it'll accept the advertising. I'm just not monetized yet because I don't have the watch hours or the subscriber count. So it wouldn't have bothered me if I'd have put it up there shooting her in the head. I mean, it wouldn't hurt my channel at all. Because that's the only thing my channel lacks is to get the subscriber count and the watch hours up. Other than that, everything else is verified. But we just didn't do the cows when I was younger. We had the neighbor with the hogs. We had chickens. So, I mean, I grew up doing all that stuff, and I like my fresh meat. I know what goes into my animals. And I know that they lived a good life and they weren't packed like sardines on a concrete floor all day long. They got to actually wander around and be animals. But I understand that's not for everybody. But the peanut fields down the road, they're starting to spread chicken manure on now and turn it under. So for the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna be smelling plenty of chicken crap. But I wouldn't mind having some Angoras and having some nice fur-lined winter boots made out of them. You grew up in Hales where you grew up. I'd get kicked out of suburbia because I'm the guy that pee in the front yard and the backyard and wouldn't care who saw it. I grew up so country, it's just ingrained in me. I pee wherever I'm standing. I'll turn my back or find the closest tree and walk behind it just to be polite. Other than that, I don't care. But I couldn't live. I've lived in two towns in my entire, well, three towns my entire life, and it was all I could do to get adjusted to sleeping at night with cars constantly growing up or going by. Because growing up, we knew who it was coming down the road before they even got there because there weren't very many people that lived in the neighborhood, and we were all related one way or another, and we knew the sound of everybody's car engine, so we could tell who it was before we even saw them. But living in town, no, it's too noisy. I can't take that. I mean, and I live by a highway now, and I've just now, after a year, gotten adjusted to it to where I can sleep because I still get the occasional haul ass in the middle of the night car come by. But I know when 6 o'clock rolls around because at 6 o'clock the traffic starts. I'm about an hour away, hour and a half away from Saltwater. And my sister lived in Fernandina Beach, Florida for about 20 years. So when I was younger, I'd go down and visit her all the time. And I'd go fish and crab and stuff like that. I love saltwater seafood. Freshwater, no, I'm not that big on. I'll take trout and I'll take catfish and stuff like that, pike or a walleye, but don't bring me bluegill or red breast or something like that. I don't want those. That's dark meat fish. I don't want them. I want light colored fish. They get that freshwater fish just gets it's like you can taste the slime on it. Saltwater fish taste a whole lot cleaner. Well, so far I haven't had anybody that I've asked say that they've ever seen a commercial in my videos. So I'm assuming that YouTube's not going to put commercials up on my stuff until I get monetized or to the point where I've got 1,000 subs and the 4,000 watch hours. Because I do have an alternate account from another Google email address that I have, and anytime I click on that one, I've never seen, I've never had to wait for an advertisement. Never seen one come up in my videos. Nothing. Yeah, I was going to send this one to the slaughterhouse and have it done, but I just didn't have the cash, and they only take them on certain days of the week, and I wasn't going to hold on to this animal for another week until it rolled around to take her up there, and it's like, no, we'll just go ahead and do it at home. The cuts might not look as professional as what the butcher will do, but they'll get you by. I would like to have some nice red snapper or some grouper right about now. Those are about my two favorite saltwater fish. Never had bluefish. And I do like flounder too. I like flounder. The red snapper and grouper, those are my favorites. But I'll take whiting and I'll take mullet as long as it's caught in the salt water. I don't want it up the river whenever it's caught. Oh yeah, I could just a nice pair of fur line, just even liners for my shoes. That would be awesome because it's so soft and warm, and your feet wouldn't sweat in the wintertime because it would just be amazing to have some rabbit skin boots. I don't think that they'd last too long. They'd wear out real quick with that thin hide they got on them, but that would be some awesome boots, and they'd make great house shoes. But maybe tomorrow before work, I can actually get some more tomato seeds in the ground and get some of those replaced. After that doctor botched up that oral surgery and things started going downhill mentally with me because it just demoralized me so much. Today was a picker upper because I got something done on the farm instead of just being demoralized because I'm going to have to give up school and all that. So maybe tomorrow I can get out there and get some work done before I got to go into work. Well, that's kind of like on pollock. They used to call it a junk fish. Now they use it for everything. Just like that Asian carp up and down the Mississippi River that jumps and hits everybody in the head that makes you laugh because they got hit upside the head with a 30-pound fish. Some smart cookie's gonna come up with some kind of recipe for it, which the Asians, they love them. They eat them all the time. Somebody's gonna come up with a recipe that Americans like, and then they'll put a dent in that population then because all you got to do is just run a motorboat fast up that river with some nets hanging over the side of the boat, and they'll just jump in. It wouldn't even be fun fishing for them, but it wouldn't be long before you had several hundred pounds in the boat where it was time to go back to the shore. Either that or start making fertilizer out of it. Because that right there would be my idea. I'd go out there and catch them things just for the fertilizer aspect of it. Run them bad boys through a limb grinder, spread them out in the sun, let them dry and dehydrate, and then use them for fertilizer. But then again, that would involve some work and some effort, so I don't think anybody's going to really take them up on that using them for fertilizer offer. If they do, they're going to charge so much for it, nobody's going to buy it. All because they had to put in a little effort and a little hard work. Everybody wants to get paid for doing as little as possible nowadays. I could have been civilized and poured this in a glass. Nah. The slab of bacon I kept for myself probably weighs 15 pounds. And I sent them probably about an 8-pound slab and missed a little bit or left a little bit on the end of the ribs. So there was probably a good 30 pounds, probably 30 pounds of bacon and all on that one. Which I've got to get that cut up into the nice square pieces and get it marinating in some brine to make bacon with, because I'm actually looking forward to that more than anything else. But I don't think I'm going to be getting another pig anytime soon. Not until I get an enclosure just for them, because the goats don't particularly care for being around the pig, and I don't want one that's 350 pounds have to hang in a tree and butcher out again. If I get any, I'll get a couple feeder pigs, and when they get to be about 125 to 150 pounds, I'll butcher them out then. Yeah, they might be small and the meat might be small cuts, but it'll be tender and taste a whole lot better. Well, that's the McDonald's I won't be eating at, because if I can't stand face to face with somebody and tell them what I want, I'm not talking to a machine, because it'll be just like autocorrect. You tell them what you don't want on it, or ask for something special, and you wind up with ice cream on your hamburger if you ain't careful. I don't trust that stuff. That's true. I'd have to wash the glass, and this all I got to do is if I don't finish it, put the top on it, and if I do finish it, toss it. Because oddly enough, nowhere around here recycles glass. Ever since last week, it has been tough. When that doctor couldn't get it all done like he was supposed to, that really just demoralized me. And then he thought I was going to go back to him to let him take the stitches out. No, I told him I'll take them out myself. Well, the doctor doesn't recommend that. And I looked at her and I said, sweetheart, no doctor recommends that. That's how they make their money. I've done all my stitches myself, except for the first time I ever had stitches. And I watched and I learned, because he took and tied the stuff around the teeth on this side and around the teeth on this side and sewed in the middle. And it was pulling my teeth together. And he also had part of the gum caught in the suture. And that was what was giving me the most trouble. And it finally loosened up enough to where I could feel the suture move inside the gum, and the other two on each side, they're starting to move now. So I know it's time. They're getting ready. By tomorrow, I'll probably be able to get them out. And I just took a pair of tweezers that I've got and a little pair of scissors that I've got, and I just sterilized them, cut right where that knot was, and just pulled them straight through. And man, it felt so good. That pressure was gone. I felt a whole lot better since yesterday when I took those out. And tomorrow I'll probably take the rest of them out, and that's going to feel even better. But hopefully tomorrow, before I got to go to work, I can actually get the tomato seed I want started, and I can get the tiller out there and get another section, get the rest of the winter weeds cut down, and hopefully Saturday and Sunday I can get my corn planted so I can get a week or two of growth on it. And then whenever it gets about yay tall, then I'll plant my green beans and heal the corn up. So that way they don't have sucker shoots coming off the bottom that I got to constantly cut off. And my green beans can grow up the corn instead of me having to put up a trellis. It works out a whole lot easier that way. I've done that for the past couple of years, and it's so much easier than putting up a trellis because once you get through with the green beans, the corn's already done. And then all you got to do is go out there and cut it off with the dirt. I leave the roots in the ground because, they just keep sucking up moisture and nutrients because they're dead and they're dry. And I just plant right on top of them. And then the next spring I'll till it up, or either in the fall. But I usually grow 2 crops before I till again, and I just use the same row because those roots are beneficial because they've got the fungus growing on them and they're already pulling moisture up from the deep in the ground. Yeah, I was hoping for more bacon, but I'm satisfied with what I got. And since I skinned the hog instead of scalded it, I don't have nipples on my bacon. I don't like nipples on my bacon. The people who have the hard rind on their bacon, I don't see how they eat that stuff. Ever since I was a kid, I mean, I'd sit there and I would get every little bit off the skin I could, but the skin would be so hard that you couldn't chew it even with good teeth. And whenever you got a thick slice of bacon and right in the middle of your rind was a nipple, that was disgusting. I don't want nipples on my bacon. But then again, that's also coming from a guy who goes through a drive-through restaurant and orders a chicken breast, and I don't want a nipple on mine, please. Yeah, I've done that. And I've gone through a drive-through and said, I came earlier today and I brought my sandwich back because you ain't gonna believe this, but my chicken sandwich, there is a beak in it. There is a beak in my chicken sandwich. You ain't gonna believe this shit. I want my money back, and I brought this sandwich back to show you there's a beak in it. And then I'll drive around in the window, and then they see I work there. I'll fuck with them. Or I used to. I don't do that too much anymore because I don't really know the people I'm working with that well, and don't really want to get to know them that well because I don't want to be there to begin with. But hey, it's a job, and it's not like I plan on hanging out with them. So I gave up on that with the last girl that I met, and we're still close friends. And whenever she left Hardee's and I left Hardee's, going back and she's not there to make my day fun, nah, I'm not interested in making friends no more. I got enough friends. I don't need to make new ones that aren't going to be with me for the rest of my life. So, but they try because I am a smart ass and I do speak my mind, and they laugh like hell at me, and they try to be friends, but Morgan just he don't do it. No, not giving I'm not accepting your friend request on Facebook, not giving you my phone number. And the girl I was telling you about, that we wound up being good friends. We lived together for 6 months and never dated. You know, it took her 3 months to get my phone number, just being friends. I wasn't interested in that because my last ex came from working together, and it's like I ain't falling for that shit no more. But they try. It's like, no, I'm not gonna friend you on Facebook. No, I don't want to go to your house and hang out. No, I'm busy right now. It's not a good time to come to my house. Sorry. Nope. Don't want to meet uptown to go out and eat and have fun and go to a bar because I'm not into the bar scene and I don't eat out. I eat at home. It's not hard to do. You just find where the knot is, make one little cut right there, and then start where the knot is and gently tug, and it'll slide right out. If not, move over to the other side and grab another piece. You just find that one starting point, and the rest of it just all comes right on out. And I ain't lying, I was glad to get them out the front. Dumbass wrapped them around my teeth like a fucking boat at a dock. And the next day it come loose and there was a big old loop of it hanging down in my mouth and it wasn't ready to come out, so I had to put up with it. And anything I tried to eat would get hung in it and it hurt whenever you go to swallow. Next time I see that guy, if I ever see him again, I think I'm gonna slap him like a woman. I'll pretend I'm one of them black women on one of them old, what was Foxy Brown. Just straight on a pole, open bitch slap him. In a way, it is a lot like the Indian Three Sisters garden because every other row I'll plant squash down. That way, the corn and the beans will shade the squash. The beans will give nitrogen to the corn. So it's kind of like the Three Sisters garden, except it's not in a circle with poles making a teepee to go up. It's a modified Indian garden. And it actually works pretty good. Excuse me just a minute. It's getting a little chilly in here. Time to turn on the heat. It was 70 degrees outside today. My heat was coming on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My house in the wintertime is a bitch to heat. But in the summertime, I don't have to use the air but about 2 hours a day. My power bill in the summer is like $75 a month. In the wintertime, though, it can be $175 a month. I've got to get inside these walls and insulate them because I know that's the problem. They're not insulated. Because my sister lived here years before with her husband, and she said this coldest damn place she's ever lived in her life. It's like living in Alaska. And I got to admit, she's right. She was telling the truth. It's the coldest damn house I've ever lived in. But the summertime, thank God for long summers here, because after this month, my power bill will probably be $75 a month until next November. So for about 9, 10 months out the year, or 8 or 9 months out the year, more or less, it'll be less than $100 a month. Somebody's joined us. I guess we'll have to wait and see if they speak, and then we'll find out who it is, because I'm seeing 5 on the screen now. Oh, it's the Heberts. How you guys doing? It's mighty nice of you to stop in. We've already gone over the hog that went kind of cuckoo on me in the last few days, and I spent from 8:30 this morning till 3 o'clock this afternoon, me and another guy butchering this thing out, because I ain't been around a hog butcher since I was 7 or 8, and he's the same way, but it's pretty much like doing a deer, but this, we didn't do the dunk method where you scrape them. We skinned it. And I tell you what, that's some tough skin to get off. But yeah, the old hog decided she wanted to go swimming around the fence that goes out into the pond to keep all the animals in, and she'd swim around it. She went to the next county over, and I had to go get her. And then she went down to the neighbor's house, and I had to go get her from there. I wound up peppering her with bird shot 2 or 3 times, and I told him, I said, she goes back down there, pepper her behind with bird shot, and he got her about 5 times, and then she went after him, and it's like, no, I ain't having that. So I had a friend come over today, and it took 3 rounds to the head, but she went down. Got her all butchered up, and I gave them half, and I kept half, and I got about 175 pounds of pork in the freezer back there. Waiting on it to get good and frozen, so that way I can cut the pork chops out with my bone saw. But it was a job. I ain't gonna do a 350-pound hog again. Either I'll have the money to have it done for me, or at about 125 pounds, they'll just get butchered out small, and we'll all eat 2 pork chops instead of 1. But that's how my day went. And tomorrow, hopefully, I'll get a few more seed planted and get another spot in the garden ready to plant something, and then go to work and be aggravated because I'm dealing with stupid people who can't look at a picture on a menu board and say, what comes, and then they look at the picture. You see everything that's on it. What comes on that? Look at the picture, idiot. It's right there. And then if you look at the name of the sandwich below it in little white letters, tells you all the condiments that come on it. I am in southeast Georgia, about 100 miles north of Jacksonville, Florida, and about 95 miles southwest of Savannah, Georgia. And I'm about 85 miles from Brunswick, Georgia. So I'm pretty well on, almost on the coast. Gardening zone 8B, 9A. More 9A so than 8B. Yeah, I'm actually about a week or two behind some people around here. Because it is time for me to already have my sweet corn up about 3 inches tall. And my beans ought to already be in the ground too. And tomato plants. Pretty much my whole garden except for okra should be planted by now, but I had a run-in with an oral surgeon that didn't go so well, and that kind of set me behind. Ooh, 5A. I ain't got no business going that far north. Dandruff falls from the sky up there, and whenever dandruff falls out of the clouds, Morgan don't need to be there. Yeah, when clouds start having dandruff, it's time for me to go south. That's one of those places where you need a greenhouse because people always say, when are you going to get a greenhouse? Why do I need a greenhouse? I don't need a greenhouse. I can go out in the garden and pick something all year long. All I have to do is eat in season. Yeah, you're in one of those little microclimate areas. Because most of North Georgia is 8A. And there's a couple little pockets in North Georgia that are 8B, little microclimates. But I'm looking forward to getting caught up on my garden work. I've got to do a video and I'm gonna show it where I've let it go. I've got to weed out my onions. I've got purple onions, and I live in the area where I can actually grow Vidalia onions and call them Vidalia onions, not Vidalia type onions. And if you guys want to, well, Heberts, you won't be able to grow Vidalias because they're a short day onion. They grow wintertime, not summertime. But honey, you might be able to get away with them because you're pretty much a short day person. But I can give you the name of the seed to buy instead of growing them from bulbs. Because if you grow them from the little onion set bulbs, more than likely they'll go to seed on you. But it's a Texas Grano 502 or either a Granex 33. It's the same onion seed, just a different name for it, and that's what Vidalia onions are. They're the Grano and the Granex hybrids, and that's what they grow around here. And I'm in the area that I can grow and market Vidalia onions. Well, thanks for stopping in, Heberts. It was good talking to you. But I've got to weed those, and then I've got to. All of my mustard is bolted. I got pretty yellow flowers out there all over the place. I've got turnips that need to come out. I think I got a few more roots I can harvest for myself, and maybe a mess of greens. But I got to get those out and get that all tilled up and ready to go for something else. Then I got to get the winter weeds out the other part. Figure out what I want to do for production. I think for selling, I might just do one crop and do bell peppers because I noticed at the grocery store today that bell peppers were $1.50 for one bell pepper. $1.50 for one bell pepper. That is crazy. No wonder Morgan don't eat them in the winter time. But I might do some bell peppers and I'll probably do some sweet corn. We'll sell a little bit of that. But I'm not going to do a whole lot for market gardening. I'm going to focus on getting my winter stores up, and then whatever's left, then I'll worry about gardening or market for that. I'm not killing myself this summer. Last summer I killed myself trying to get the grass killed and tilled under and worked in where I wouldn't have to do so much weeding and hoeing and stuff like that. And finally broke down and used Roundup on it and got rid of it. So now that it's dead, I don't have to use Roundup anymore. The Roundup is only good for one thing for me, and that's my fence line. I kill it with Roundup, and then I put 2 other herbicides on it, so that way my electric fence stays hot. Other than that, Roundup don't go on nothing. Unless it's out in the woods and I want it dead like poison ivy. But I usually leave that alone because poison ivy don't bother me no how, so I leave it alone. A gallon of Roundup lasts me the rest of my life. Because I didn't want to break down and use it in my garden, but when you got a bad back and you can't get out there and hoe and pull it all up, because down here we grow a lot of carpet grass, and if you don't get every little root out, it's like Bermuda grass. It comes back, and it comes back with a vengeance. And I'm like, nope, I'm not fighting it. So I sprayed it all with Roundup, and then I used Treflan to keep it from. Treflan is a pre-emergent herbicide. The seeds won't sprout for 3 months, and it's not as harmful to the ecology of things as Roundup is. So I don't mind it. I'll use it, but I don't use it very much at all either. A lot of times I'll put bleach on stuff because bleach will kill the crap out of most of your grasses. And if bleach don't do it, get you some vinegar. And the stuff at the store is not strong enough that you get you a gallon jug of bleach or gallon jug of vinegar. You put it in a pot on the stove and you simmer it down to where it's a half a gallon of vinegar. Then you got something you can kill some weeds with because you can put some salt in that vinegar and it will brown up some grass with a quickness. Yeah, and that asshole hit my damn tooth with that little grinder as he was leveling off the bone for the denture to fit. Yeah, he hit it on a tooth on this side and one on this side. They were never cold sensitive before. Now they are. Ugh. That's my luck, though. But hopefully by Sunday afternoon, I can have my garden in order. And the trash is blown up off the highway. Every weekend I get a new selection of beer cans, and I haven't picked up last weekend's selection of beer cans that people toss out going down the highway. Amongst other trash that blows up in the yard. I actually had a hefty bag blow up in the yard today, and there wasn't nothing in it. I was disappointed. At least there could have been something interesting in there for me to see to think, gee, these people, they live crazy. But it was just an empty hefty bag. And then get my mess picked up. Because I got to admit, some of it's mine. But mine stuff like I got to get a couple pallets picked up, situated, and I got a few feed bags that have gotten away. The goats have decided they didn't want covered up. They wanted them out where they could get to them to chew on them. So I got to confiscate those and get them taken care of. I have always wanted to try Walla Walla, but they are a long day onion, and I don't think they'll do very well down here at all. To tell you the truth, I've never seen them in a grocery store down here. And I know Walla Walla's kind of like Vidalia. It's a trademark name, and you know, it's a real popular onion because they're sweet. But I've never tried one, and I've never seen one in a store. And if I ever do see one in a store, I'm going to get a couple just to try. But yeah, planting your onions from seed is the best way to go. Because those onion sets, that little bitty bulb thinks it's already a full grown onion. So it's thinking that it's in its second year of full growth, and it's liable to go to seed on you. And once it does that, I mean, you might as well just pull that onion up and use the tops green and whatever you can off the bottom of it for, you know, whatever you need. Because it's not going to make a storage onion. And it's not going to make a really big bulb either. Yeah, they do. They want them to be, and they don't realize 3-lobe and 4-lobe bell peppers are the same variety, but it's basically a male and a female pepper. There's a sexual difference between the lobes, and they all want the 4-lobe. They don't want the 3-lobe. The 4-lobe is the one that brings you the money. And if you grow those colored bell peppers, that's where the dollars are. They sell them in 3-packs at the grocery store I go to, and they're like $5 for three bell peppers just because you get a green, an orange, and a yellow one. And they all taste the same. It's just a different color. $5 for 3 bell peppers. I'm not paying that. People have called me crazy, but they ain't never called me stupid. And to tell you the truth, I'd rather eat a Cubanelle pepper than I would a bell pepper anyway. Bell pepper's got more of a bitter flavor. Cubanelle tastes almost exactly like a bell pepper without the bitterness. But more than likely, I'll wind up growing more jalapenos than I do bell peppers this year anyway. And those they sell by the pound, whereas the bell pepper they sell by the pepper. You ought to, because you're in a longleaf pine ecosystem. There's plenty of wiregrass down here too, girlfriend. And where I am, wiregrass is a protected plant. If you got wiregrass on your property, the state doesn't want you to burn it off. But that's really the best thing you can do for wiregrass is to burn it off, because you're not going to kill the seed, and then the seed are going to come up, and you didn't kill the plant because the root lives through it, and you increase the population. But our state officials in Georgia have not figured that out yet. With all their biologists on staff, they have not figured that out yet. But wiregrass it's a really unique plant. It's kind of like sea oats. It's a cornerstone plant species for the longleaf pine ecosystem that we live in. Because longleaf pine used to go from northern Virginia and Maryland all the way to Texas. And out of all of that original habitat, there is less than 20 million old growth longleaf pine forests left. And I think there was at one time 93 million acres of them. And now you can barely get anybody to plant longleaf because they grow so slow. Everybody grows slash because it grows faster. But it's not the same. It doesn't harbor the same animal species. It doesn't grow the same. Slash pine is just a hybrid between longleaf and loblolly or black pine, whatever you guys call it up there, the little short needle pines. They make really good Christmas trees when they're young, but they're into production for pulp and paper and lumber and stuff like that. So they go where the money is, not where the ecology is, which is a damn shame, because if you follow the ecology, then that means the money is going to go up. Because whenever it takes 50 years to produce a light pole, the cost of the light pole is higher than if it takes 25 years. And people are willing to wait longer to get a higher return on their investment if it's worth their while. And the ecosystem benefits, we benefit. But everybody's impatient. They want their money right here, right now. And it's a damn shame nobody's got the patience to wait. Matter of fact, my hometown newspaper growing up, we had two of them. One was the Wiregrass Shopper, and the other was the Alma Times. And then the Wiregrass changed its name to the Statesman. So now we got the Alma Times Statesman. No damn Statesman down here. Well, you did the right thing. Because whenever they get about as big around as a pencil, they're ready to transplant. And if you just started them, They'll be ready to transplant right around the fall, which is the time that's when they need to go out. Which they'll over summer in the garden, no problem. But the trick is they're heavy feeders. So during the summer you fertilize them light, and then during the winter you fertilize them a little bit heavier. But the key to getting a big flat bulb that's yay big around is you don't want anything but the roots in the ground. You want to take your finger and every other day or so go out there and make a circle around that bulb and scrape that dirt away. That way it can expand out instead of trying to go down and out. And you'll get you an onion that's about that thick and about that big around. Perfect for onion rings. You only want just the roots in the ground. No bulb at all, just the roots. And being in an 8B climate, and being in an 8B climate, you'll be able to grow Vidalia onions because that's the climate that we grow them in. They're not going to taste exactly like ours because your soil's not like ours. It doesn't have the same makeup as ours. That's what makes ours as sweet as they are. Because no matter where you grow them, the same seed, yours are not going to be as sweet as ours. But you will have good results and you'll have a sweeter onion than any other onion you plant. But the name of the seed you want to get is Gran-X hybrid or Grano hybrid. And you'll have a good, sweet, decent storing onion because they put these things in refrigerated warehouses for months on end. That's how you got them in the stores all year long around the country is they store them in refrigeration and you'll be good to go. That's all you got to remember is what the name of the seeds are, and get you any of those hybrids, and you'll have a really nice, good storing, very sweet onion. And with an AB zone, you should be good to go. Plant them normally about April or May for the seed. That way they can get pencil size over the summer. And, you ain't got to take them out of the trays or nothing like that. You can just leave them in the tray. And come about September, October, you can start setting them out and get them a good start before it gets cold, and they'll produce really well for you. See, and these are some of the tips that all these big channels, they're not going to tell you. Like Boy and Girl Peppers, they don't know that. They've just read books on how to grow stuff. They ain't read nothing about why it's shaped the way it's shaped or how it is. I bet you they couldn't tell you if a bell pepper is an angiosperm or a gymnosperm or what life cycle it is that you see above ground. Is it a sporophyte or is it the endospore? It's the sporophyte that you see above ground because there's two life cycles that the plant goes through. That's why they're seed bearing. And they don't know all this stuff, but yet they're the ones with the 100,000 subscribers. That and they're young and pretty, and everybody loves to watch them. I do too, because I like watching them make mistakes. And I keep my mouth shut. Because if you call them out on it, people will jump down your throat. Oh, how dare you insult our beloved goddesses of the garden. Yeah, sweetheart, I was doing this before your mom and daddy probably even had fuzz between their legs, and you wanted to jump down my throat that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm the one that's got the degree in biology, and I'm the one that's been gardening for 43 years, because I started my first garden when I was 5 years old, and I'm 48 now. And I'm the one that's wrong. Oh well, that's on me. I'll garden compete with anybody any day. And the only one that would actually worry me would be Danny and Wanda. Oh yeah, fox squirrels were amazing. They used to be all over the place down here, but we don't have very many fox squirrels anymore. Anytime I go squirrel hunting, I will not shoot a fox squirrel. I won't do it because I haven't killed one of them since I was 15 years old. And that was the last one I killed because I got to noticing that I didn't see him very often. And my dad's the same way. He'll kill any other squirrel, but he'll leave those alone. Yeah, pileated woodpeckers are protected down here too, along with the yellow-bellied sapsucker and a couple other of the woodpecker family. Red-headed woodpecker. Well, all songbirds are protected in Georgia, and those are lumped in with songbirds, but they're also on the endangered list, so they're federally protected also. But the pileated and the red-headed and the red-cockaded, we have those. And we got yellow-bellied sapsuckers, and we got another kind of sapsucker I can't remember the name of. And those things, a yellow-bellied sapsucker is that size. It's a big old woodpecker, and it's actually yellow. And we used to have plenty of those around here, and I haven't killed one of those since I was about 12 or 13. I Even at a young age, I started noticing I wasn't seeing very many, and whatever I didn't see, when I came across it, it's like I don't see this very often. I left it alone. Foxes, I didn't shoot them when I was younger because I didn't see them very often. But now, yeah, I'll take a shot at a fox because we got plenty of them now. I'm glad I could help you out with that. I'm full of all kind of little tips and tricks to garden. My brother-in-law was out here at my house about 2 weeks ago, and he looked at my potatoes, and my potatoes are bigger than my dad's potatoes, and he said, "Man, you're just like your daddy. You can grow anything." And I said, "Well, I learned from the best. I learned from my daddy. He's 86 years old, and he's been growing a garden in that same spot that he's living in for the past, well, there's been a garden in that spot for over 70 years. And he's been living there for since 1960, since 1961 or 62. And he's been gardening there. And that's where I got a lot of mine from. And he worked with the U.S. government with Natural Resources Conservation Reserve Program. And he worked at an experiment station where they experiment with plants and stuff like that. And he just did terraces and worked with farmers, but he got to bring home experimental plants. Once they got through taste testing the corn that they were developing or the watermelon. I had orange meated watermelon when I was 5 years old before anybody else in the United States ever saw them. I mean, they would let him bring home produce and we would all get to eat it and try it. And it was amazing. You know, so naturally, my dad, not only growing up did he farm, but that's what he did as a career, was working with farmers, and he learned so much that he always thought I was not paying attention, but I was. Not a problem. Like I said, I'm here to help. If I can teach anybody anything, or point them in the right direction of how to find the knowledge they need for where they are, all you got to do is just start putting your grass clippings out there and turning them in, and it'll start building itself back up. And as a matter of fact, you know, the bacteria that they sell you at the store to go in your septic tank to help keep your septic tank clean, that bacteria is good for your garden. It gets the breakdown process of your compost and stuff like that going a lot faster, because you're instead of waiting on the bacteria to build its colony, you're already putting the colony there. But sandy soil doesn't mean it's dead soil. It just needs amendments to it. And compost is your best bet. So anytime you can get your neighbor's leaves, grass clippings, or if you use pine straw or something like that as mulch, don't just rake it up and put it in the compost pile. Just go ahead and turn it under. Let it rot right there. That way it's already in the soil providing nutrients. Because sandy soil is hard enough to grow in to begin with. So the sooner you get stuff in it to decompose, the sooner you've got something you can work with. And it'll take you 2 or 3 years to actually get something. So anytime you can get leaves, grass clippings. Whenever I used to have a truck, people uptown would rake all the pine straw out their yard and pile it up on the side of the road to be picked up. I'd drive by and I always kept a pitchfork in the back of my truck. I just pick up pine straw and just keep on going. They should have come up in August, and they should have done fine through the winter, because they don't really mature until about the end of April. Whenever you see them start to fall over, whenever about a third to a half of them the tops fall over, you go out and you take your hoe or something and you bend all the tops over, and you leave them in the ground for another week, maybe two. And then you go out and you pull them up, and then you let them dry for about a week. And after that, right where that bend is that broke the top, that's where you want to take your scissors and cut that top off. And that's going to be your storage onion right there. But always be sure you bend them over and make that top fall over, because that's what sets the bulb into storage motion. Yes, it does. And it also comes with actually asking questions and exposing yourself to the information you want. You want to know about how to grow blueberries? You go find a blueberry farmer. You want to learn how to grow corn? You go find a corn farmer. So if there's something you want to know how to grow, you go find somebody that grows it well and you ask them questions. Because the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. And if you'll excuse me a minute, I have to run to the cat box. Oh, that's better. You're not easy, boy. Get down. You know he's king of the castle. This is not your throne. That's his throne. Both of them piled up on the other chair over there. The only thing you can see on that chair is a feed sack that I hadn't thrown away. It's one of those that's not paper, so I keep those. But both of them are sitting over there playing. Well, they're sleeping, so I guess that's why they're getting along. Because normally Easy Boy don't put up with Cell Kitty. Cell Kitty is the young one that wants to try and show his authority, and every once in a while, Easy Boy has to grab him and throw him down like a big man. Snap some pictures. You never know. You might run across an ivory bill woodpecker. They thought they were extinct in about, I want to say 10 or 15 years ago. Somebody snapped a picture of one, I think in Louisiana, I want to say. And if there was one there, it came from somewhere. So there's more of them out there. You never know. You might find an ivory bill woodpecker, and next thing you know, you got your name in a scientific journal somewhere. I think the yellow ones are mostly down here and toward Florida. They're yellow and they got black specks on their breast. And I haven't seen one in at least 25 years. Most of those types of woodpeckers, like you're just talking about and I'm talking about, they only live in old growth pine. And nobody down here has old growth pine because what they had in the 70s, they harvested to support their agricultural industry. And then whenever they got tired of farming and were ready to retire,